This is a perfect launch point then. So let's get into it. I can't wait. Thank you so much for taking a minute. It's great to meet you.
It's a pleasure to meet you as well. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. So let's begin our journey. Speaking of time and things shifting, 5 years ago, the pandemic was raging. It was changing everything. How did you survive the COVID 2020 pandemic, and how has it reverberated into your life in 2025?
Well, great question, man. Great question, Joe. When COVID-19 hit, it was, I haven't experienced a pandemic or anything like that in this lifetime. So it was very odd, very strange because at the time I was working a job and I was dealing with a bunch with society and the exchanging of money. So I found it odd that here they have these plastic shields up and I'm having to give change back. And so what? The virus could jump around
Yeah.
this, plastic shield. It was, to me, it was laughable. But also, my son at the time, he had graduated high school in 2019, and he was supposed to go to college. He got accepted to the University of Tennessee. Well, they weren't allowed to, the freshman class were not allowed to come on campus.
Yeah.
They were only allowed to do the virtual training, virtual schooling. And so I found that so interesting, how this was all manipulated and maneuvered for sure. Now after all the research and all the things that I know now, wow.
It's
Yeah,
crazy. Yeah, it
it's crazy.
is. It's like it was a weird dream. So let's get into your wonderful work, and I want to begin by doing this. If I put you in front of a bunch of 12-year-olds at career day, and kids always get the truth out of us, and one of the kids in the back of the room is like, "Hey, what do you do for a living?"
Yeah.
What's your answer?
Well, that is so crazy because how to explain what I do now is such a whirlwind to me that I now operate in the realm of frequency, vibration, energy, and deprogramming what was programmed into me to keep me locked, blocked, and stopped in lower aspects, which I would describe to the children. Lower aspects are unworthiness, blame, shame, guilt, grief, less than, not enough, worry, anxiety, depression. And these all on an energetic level keep you constricted, restricted, and your everything is frequency, everything is energy. Everything vibrates at a rate. And when we operate out of these lower dense frequencies, such as shame vibrates at 20 hertz, grief operates vibrates at 75 hertz. Guess what we vibrate when at death? We vibrate at zero. So you mean to tell me that by me experiencing hurt, shame, blame, I am on an energetic frequency vibration of close to death?
Yeah.
So what go in and I take a look at what are we where are we focusing? Where are we even aware of what our frequency, what our vibration, what is in our electromagnetic field? We all have one. We weren't taught about this. So your electromagnetic field precedes you 6 feet out in all 360 degrees. So go in and take a look at what's in that field vibrating. Could it be programs that we were taught as young kids on the pain looping, storytelling? You know, um, go in mentally. We all have several bodies: mental, physical, emotional, etherical, and so I go in and take a look on all of those aspects. What is in there? And I go in and I'm able to cancel, cut, and clear what is not a vibratory match, what has been spinning you out, what is keeping you locked, blocked, and stopped on an energetic level. We were taught that if we don't see it, it's not real. And that is so not it. Don't we think if we could have healed, we would have already done it by now?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
So, what is keeping me feeling these lower frequencies, emotions? What are even emotions?
Yeah.
energy in motion. So what are we doing?
Yeah.
We weren't taught, like I cannot stress enough that we were not taught any of this, but why?
Yeah. Yeah. So let me ask you this. When you were 12 years old, what was your dream job? What did you want to be when you grew up?
A fighter pilot.
All right. Did you ever fly? Did you ever try to get a pilot's license?
No, my dad is a pilot. My brother's a pilot,
Okay.
and it's funny because at the age of third grade, my parents were pulled to the side and said, "Hey, we think you need to go get Bethany tested. We think she's on the spectrum." And so, as any great parent would do, they take me to a psychiatrist and get me tested.
Yeah.
Well, the psychiatrist came back and said, "Well, Bethany has ADD, attention deficit disorder. Here is you a handful of prescriptions. Now, when school starts for her fourth grade, be sure to give her these medications." Joe, this right here, this was one of my first major mind shifts because by my parents only doing what they thought was best, this now is called amphetamine. This is a narcotic. And I was drugged out of my mind. And I would sit there in class and I would get made fun of because I was literally just.
Yeah.
So, yeah, this taught me at a young age that I was not accepted by society, my schoolmates, my friends, my family, unless I showed up with these intoxicating, medications.
Yeah.
So, yeah, yeah.
Wow. So when did you realize you found your footing right now? You found your place in life. What was that moment for you? Was it a moment? Was it an evolution of your career? How did you get here?
Oh my gosh. If you would have told me in 2020 that this is what I'd be doing, I'd have said you lost your ever loving mind. There's no way. Because what happened that totally put me onto this transformation course into absolutely deep diving within myself, knowing thyself. I experienced as a parent one of the most traumatic nightmares a parent could possibly, you know, get. One day I was at work and I get a tap on my shoulder. "We need you to go outside. We need you to clock out. You got family members out in the parking lot." And I was like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah.
So anyway, I clocked out and I go out there, and every one of my immediate family, my mom, my dad, my brother, my sister-in-law, and my nephew are standing there. And they told me, "Bethany, sit down." I was like, "Okay." So I sat down. And Joe, what was about to be told to me, my life, here's my next mind switch. My mother looked at me and said, "Bethany, your son, Kevin, has been killed tonight. A guy crossed over into his lane, hitting him head on, killing him instantly." Joe, the sound when I come to this, when I speak about this, I am mentally, emotionally, physically, it's like a lucid screen pops down and I'm right there in that van in that moment. And right now I have goosebumps
Yeah.
because the sound of scream that came out of my body was so foreign and so just devastating. I collapsed to the floor. And in that moment, I felt like I had failed. I had failed my son as a parent, that I wasn't good enough. I was less than. Everything that I got onto him about, everything then flashed before my eyes. And so the day of the funeral comes, and I'm in my son's room, and I fall to my knees and I called out to God, source, however anybody chooses to look at that. And I said, "Please, I am begging you. I need please send me a sign that everything's okay." So I'm walking back from the burial, Joe, and I have my best friend of 36 years has my arm, and it's a cloudy day. And she said, "Look." I looked up. In that moment, the clouds separated and a rainbow popped out. Now, in that moment, I fell to my knees again and I felt just an overwhelming sense of love.
Yeah.
And I felt heard. It just, I can't. There's not a word in the description in the English language for me to be able to emphasize what this meant for me.
Yeah.
So the over the next year, I started to research NDEs, and I found this what these people were coming back and experiencing was absolutely amazing. And I started to kind of feel something. Well, my son is probably has to be one of the biggest nerds I know. He studied all of this quantum physics, quantum mechanics, quantum entanglement, manifestations, energy, light, sound, frequency. And all of a sudden, this stuff started flooding into my awareness. I started to research spirituality. I started to research all of this information. Well, when I did this, Joe, my awareness of not only myself, but frequency, and I just started to like expand out. So in that moment, my life started to change. My son started to, as my frequency started to raise, I started to have communication with him. And not only with him, but with my team, my galactic, my angelic, my indigenous, and my ancestral. And I started to have almost full on at the first year and a half, somewhat telepathy. And then the communication started. One day I was on my couch and I needed to go take a shower. I was like, okay. So I go pull the shower curtain back and I look down and there's a coin, a quarter, not nickels, dimes, penny in my shower. Now I don't know about you, Joe, but I don't shower with pockets nor nor
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
So I picked up this coin and it had my son's death year on it, and I was like, "That's interesting." So I just kind of like put it to the side and just didn't, I was like, "No." Well, several days had passed by, and I got up out of the bed one morning, as I always do, and I make my bed up, tidy everything. Everything's great. That night, I come back, pull my sheets back, and what do I find? Coins inside this bed that were not there that morning. I was like, man, this is just odd.
Yeah.
So several days had passed by, and I go to vacuum my house. I vacuum every inch of the carpet, every inch. I go put the vacuum cleaner up, and Joe, I come back, and what do I find on these freshly vacuumed floors? Coins.
Coins.
Now, those coins were not just there because if they would have, I would have picked them up and I would have removed them. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is, I couldn't push this off anymore. So I called my mom and I was like, Mom, I am finding coins everywhere. She said, oh my God, Bethany. She said, we are too. Your father and I are finding pennies everywhere. And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, I think it's Kevin trying to communicate with us.
Yeah.
I hung up the phone immediately. I ran out. And I ran out on the deck. I said, Kevin, if this is you, buddy, can you show up for me like a blue jay or a red bird? Joe, the very next day, everywhere I turned, there was a blue jay or a cardinal.
Wow.
Everywhere I turned.
Wow.
And so in that moment, I was like, this child's trying to communicate with me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Yeah.
amazing. S-
Yeah.
So to go through these highs and lows that you felt in your life, who's been that inspirational force that's grounded you, that's made you evolve into who you are today?
Well, Joe, for many years of my life, I lost touch with Bethany, with me. I was feeding the outside realm, trying to be a good human, get the right answer, on the wheel of what I call the Daytona Track 500. And this experience has brought me to me, to myself, to knowing that I have everything within, learning and feeling my own thoughts, feelings, and emotions without having to say, well, that's right or that's wrong. It just is. And there's times that it's tough and rough, but knowing thyself and feeling it all without allowing this to just run away has been my biggest asset, along with my brother's been a really big asset, along with my father, and actually Kevin's dad. Him and I really came together during this and got through this. So yeah.
So if you were to have a dream tonight, run into an 18-year-old version of you, ready to go out and become a fighter pilot and charge into the world, and you could give that version of you a piece of advice based on this life you've lived, the wisdom you've gained, what
Mhm.
advice would you impart on that young version of you?
You Failure is not an option. Anything you set your heart to, you can do it. I am my biggest challenge. There's nothing outside of me that's the challenge. It's me gaining the awareness, the mental and emotional, and following through. If you truly desire it, you can achieve it.
Yeah, I just had a vision of Ed Harris saying that line, failure is not an option, while he dumped out all of that stuff
Mhm.
and said, we got to bring him home. We got to get him home in Apollo 13. You know, that whole thing. So let me ask you this. If you were to be in front of all of the clients and those that know you in a business sense, and you walked into a room and you could tell them one fun story about you, jumping out of an airplane, the first concert you ever went to, outrunning a bear, something that would humanize you, a fun story, what would you tell that room of people?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I guess it would have to be I am an absolute adrenaline junkie. I have the thrill seeker. If it's going to pump my adrenaline, I'm doing it. So I love to get on my street bike and just haul. A speed limit is only a mere suggestion,
Yeah,
right?
it is. Certainly is.
So when I get on my street bike, I challenge that. I get on there and I absolutely love the thrill of the bike, love the air, just all of it. It's just an amazing journey, and then that's probably one of my best highlights is just me on my bike.
Yeah, just going.
Just
So, of everything that you've accomplished and evolved into in your life, what are you the proudest of?
being a mother.
Yeah.
I still am a mother. I still have a son. I still communicate just in a totally different way. So, yeah, being a mom is probably, it has taught me more about myself than anything, and what a divine, benevolent being I have the honor to connect with and call my son.
You know, the one thing about life is that we get these adages about how everything that's been done is written in a book. It's already been written down. It's going to happen. But I always have to wonder how you would conceptualize that level of a loss. You're still spiritually connecting, but in a physical sense, how have you compartmentalized that? How have you dealt with that and moved on the stages of grief to get to a point where you can manage knowing that he's not here physically?
Well, okay, this is a great question, Joe, because just for Mother's Day this year, this Mother's Day, I was like, man, because I'm a human, having a human experience. And as long as I'm in this 3D human body, I will miss the visual representation, seeing my son through my human eyes and putting my arms around him and giving him a hug, feeling his heart against my heart. So Mother's Day, I was like, man, wow. I called out. I was like, Kevin, man, I sure need you to show up and show out for me today. And without being in the mind saying, oh my gosh, he's not here, I can't connect, and allowing this to absolutely control my experience, I drop into my heart and I feel. And I know what happens when I'm operating in a different frequency, because we were told that your heart is just a piece of organ that is pumping blood. That is so not true. This is your powerhouse. This is your magnetics. So I was like, and I know when I'm in my heart and I'm feeling is healing, and I know communication and by messages, signs, and synchronicities are going to come on in. And so I'm sitting there and I'm out on my garage, and out of nowhere, there's this bird that drops in 3 feet into my field. Now, if this bird was not there to share its frequency, and after working with me, my clients gain awareness of exactly what their frequency is. They learn to know what their vibration is, and we We were very aware. So when this bird flew in, well, here was my Mother's Day gift. And this bird shared its frequency with me of love, joy, and compassion. And in that I could sense it, I could feel it. And if that bird was not there to share with me, it would not have landed in my electromagnetic field.
Yeah.
It would have landed on a tree somewhere. So that bird was specifically there to share in my energy, my frequency, my vibration. And so, yeah, and this happens
Yeah.
all the time on so many different ways to now it's full on telepathy.
So, if you can meet anybody alive on the planet right now that you find inspirational, strong, who would that be? Who would you love to meet and talk to?
Oh my gosh, since I've been on this life purpose, this is my journey, this is my purpose, this is why I've experienced everything that I have has brought me to this present moment right here with you right now, Joe, and it has made it all worthwhile.
Yeah.
I have on this journey of following my heart, my compassion, my joy, my excitement. I have met every single being that I have wanted to meet. I've met Bashar. I've met, Laura Eisenhower, Susan Schatzer, Zinka. I've met all of these amazing Alan Steinfeld. I have met all of these amazing beings that through my grief, I was researching about. And
Yeah.
as quantum mechanics, we find that vibration like attracts like. So when you operate and you vibrate at a different vibration, you attract what you are. So
Yeah.
whatever you're putting out into the quantum field is what you're getting back. And
Yeah.
so when I started to just absolutely vibrate in these higher frequencies, these beings that I once thought were out of my realm or was studying from now started to vibrate within my presence, within my now, within my realm. So yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, everyone that knows you, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I think I'm one powerhouse, magical, divinely guided being that has stepped into her purpose, that is operating in a different vibration and frequency than many to most in the collective that are still running on their program, that are still trying to figure it out, that are still trying to learn, and that's great because I was there too, so yeah, yeah. I just think I had no idea as a young little Bethany how powerful I truly am.
Yeah, well said. So if anybody wants to learn more about Be Limitless, they've got questions, they want to reach out to you, any of your good work, where do they go?
They go to Be Limitless now at BEE, and you can come and follow me and get on the email list. I'm on all kinds of different, podcasts and get the awarenesses. Come follow me. Let's have a conscious conversation. Book a discovery call, no cost. Just let's have a conscious conversation and see what it is going on. Or you
Absolutely.
can follow me at TikTok at Be Limitless now.
Okay, I will put all those links in the show notes. Bethany, what a great story. Good job. But this is what an evolved, wonderful story. Thank you for your time today. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Joe. And I just wanted to tell you I'm so grateful and I think you're amazing. So
Thank
thank
you.
you.
You too. I totally agree. Thank you.
Looking to get new clients to your business through cold calling or email marketing? At Agency Y, they envision a world in which small and big companies have equal chances to win new customers in the market. Their purpose is to bring parity and reduce the gap between large and small firms with the help of their cold calling and cold email marketing services. Use the code Joe Dimino 10 at www.agencyyy.org/coldcallingjoe.php or www.agencyyy.org/emailmarketingjoe.php to get 10% off your first order. This is Joe Dimino of Neon Jazz and Famous Interviews, and I stand behind Agency Y to meet your business dreams.